right, welcome everyone. Thanks for being here today. Today I have Marcy Payne, a licensed professional counselor with me. Welcome, Marcy.
Thank you, Tim.
I really appreciate you taking time to visit with us today. I know a little bit about your background, but would you mind sharing a little bit about that for folks who don't know you?
Sure. I'm a licensed professional counselor, like you said, in Missouri, and I've been in some sort of private practice setting for over 15 years, but I've been licensed as a professional counselor for about 20 years, and I've worked with lots of different types of people, but right now I work mainly with adults, young adults and adults that are struggling in their relationships.
Very good. And this is, so I take it at this point, I already know the answer to the question, but I'm going to ask you. What has changed for your practice? I know you had an office set up. Have you moved home now?
Yeah, so since the middle of March, pretty much since it began, I'd already seen some clients online or by phone. So I kind of already had everything set up. So it wasn't, initially it wasn't a huge transition to do it for a little while. And so, yeah, I just let everybody know this is how we would be meeting. They could choose between phone and video. And I did not have any idea, nor did any of us, that it would still be going on. So I actually let go of my physical office.
Yes,
it's the end of May. Yes.
Okay.
And so,
all right.
yes, I don't actually have a physical office currently, but I'm thinking I would like one again someday.
Okay, good for you. I think a lot of folks are in the same boat with that.
Yes.
So I'm curious, this has been, like we're just talking about, this has been a huge adjustment for all of us. What have you heard from your clients, specifically related to COVID and the stay-at-home orders and that sort of thing? What sort of additional stress has that introduced into people's lives?
In general, people have either been very, very anxious, but they probably already had anxiety before that they were struggling with, whether socially or about their health. And so in some, it's just greatly increased all the things that they were either already overwhelmed or anxious about. And then there's others, though, that seem to have really actually had more of a slowdown and were able to reflect on their life and maybe show up in their workplace in a different way as far as feeling like a leader in a different way and really feel like they were showing. So I would say it kind of depends where they're at and if it stirred up stuff in them or if they actually, took it as some sort of opportunity to grow. And so the people that maybe were farther along in their process are doing better. They're the people that had just, kind of started working on things. Obviously, they didn't get a chance to really work on anything before it all hit. So
it's been fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's been fascinating to me. I've talked to 35 or so folks now doing these little interviews, and I've had a lot of folks say that yes, it's been a struggle, it's been a challenge, but I have found this positive aspect of it. This has impacted my life in a positive way that I don't think would have happened if, in fact, I wasn't forced to slow down, to step back, to stay at home for a period of time. So that's been really fascinating to me.
I was just going to add that the people that I feel like another vulnerable kind of population were those parents that had little kids home, whether they now had a business from home and little kids, and now they were somehow supposed to be teaching them, but they've never been a teacher or a homeschooler. So I feel like those folks that were maybe already burned out or at their top stress level, it's been a lot harder understandably on them trying to, my kids are older, so it was actually kind of nice having them here for a little while. But now, I'm ready for them to go somewhere.
Hilarious. Well, thank you for your candor there. I appreciate that. So
they are too. No, they would like to go somewhere too. So,
I'm sure. And I tell you what, it's interesting you say this. That was one of my questions. I know you deal with families a lot, family issues. And I've just got to assume, well, not even assume, I've talked to enough people over the last few months to know that, a lot of folks are saying family's great, family's wonderful, but I didn't really sign up for this 24/7, all in
Right.
the same space,
Mm-hmm.
sort of situation. So could you just talk a little bit about that, what you're seeing and what you're recommending to folks, what strategies or tactics, what advice you're giving folks who are struggling a little bit with that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Let's say there's a whole nother population as we talk that the marriage wasn't, they didn't feel like they were happy in their marriage already. And now both people are dealing with things very differently and have different ideas about how to navigate everything. Um, so most people are saying it's not really a good time to leave, but how do I stay under this? And I really, the same thing with everybody is just really helping people tune into what they need. So it's not so much advice, but most people don't slow down and consider what they need. We're just going, doing, or giving to others or our house or a business. And so really just tuning into like, where are they at? And, where are they at emotionally, physically, mentally, and then figuring out what they need and giving, and some people are giving themselves permission to receive or to ask for what they need or to find where they can get what it is they're needing. Honestly, none of us ask ourselves enough what we need.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
So some, and I know I was reading on your website some, so it
Mm-hmm.
seems like the beginning of that process, whether they're working with you directly or just for folks in general,
Mm-hmm.
maybe some self-reflection,
Mm-hmm.
and coming to grips with where we're at, what's going on in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
as that first step toward mending or improving relationships. Do I understand that correctly?
Yeah, I would say awareness. You don't know what to work on unless you're aware of it. Most people know that they're not happy with something, but and so yeah, for the people where things weren't great, of course, something like this may escalate things. And if they can get some space to reflect, then they can free up some choices and possibly think about things a little differently. Um, so yeah, reflection or just awareness, just being aware of kind of what our thoughts and our patterns are that keep us stuck or get in the way. Not necessarily taking all the blame, just focusing on what our part is to play. So
Yeah, terrific. So I'm curious, what role, if any, do things like routines, or eating well, sleeping well, exercising, all of those things appear to be a bit more challenging right now when we're forced to stay at home. But what do you see a benefit in establishing routines, or are there any practical sort of steps that you'd recommend for folks, regardless of their situation?
again, I kind of help people look at what it is. I don't want to be a broken record. What it is they need or what's missing, and
Okay.
then what kind of practices or routines or structures do they need. Some people feel too structured. Some people don't have enough structure. And so I think for me though, it's less about knowing what routines that you need and more what gets in the way.
Okay.
When you're that anyone under stress either wants to just tune out, put their head in the sand, or they want to get busy and not feel anything, or, turn to a box of Oreos or, a bottle of wine. So I just think it's more about, recognizing what your own patterns are. And then are those patterns costing you something that you don't, want to experience? And then what do you either put into place, or again, there's some sort of need it's meeting. It's just recognizing what that is. And then what do you need instead? So I don't necessarily have I don't necessarily give blanket advice. It's really tailor-made to if you're getting
Yes,
that,
well,
tailor-made to the
and
person.
and
So
and that illustrates why you're the counselor and I'm not. That's why
well,
I'm
that's
on
just
this.
my
That's
style.
why I'm on this. That's yeah. That's
Okay.
great. That's why I'm on this side of the
Mm-hmm.
camera,
Mm-hmm.
asking those questions. So
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. So, any other thoughts on the challenges that folks are facing at this point? Finding out what their need is, trying to
Mm-hmm.
grow through that some, I guess. Any kind of last thoughts that you'd want to share with us?
Well, I think we're in a different phase right now with things reopening. And so, I mean, I'm hearing the stress in that too. Not necessarily the stress and the fear of, oh my gosh, I'm going to get sick. But because some of that is I think people have adjusted to that is here and present. But more of just like, okay, now things are open, and now if you have kids, now you have to take them to doctor appointments that they all get rescheduled, and now sports is starting up. So I just think people are wanting to get back to stuff, but it's also stressful to for those people especially that felt like they had the space to like speed up right away. So just again, I know I've asked so many people like, what sort of practices, structures do you need in place before the reopening starts? And honestly, no one had considered that. And so yeah, what do you need going forward as things reopen? Because that brings a whole nother level of stress, even though we want things to open.
Yeah, it's just a crazy time. You're absolutely right. And from the folks I've talked with, they're all over the board. Some folks are still quite cautious, staying at home for the most part, minimizing their trips. Other folks are just like, yeah, I'm out there. I'm going out. I'm in the stores. I'm in, restaurants. So.
Right. And as a parent, it's not just deciding for yourself, but then you're deciding for your kids, something you've never decided, and you see how isolated they feel. And so there was no roadmap for this, that's for sure. So it is about figuring out what's best for you and your family and just doing the best you can.
Wow. Challenging times. Wow. Well, hey, Marcy, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking some time to share it with us today.
Sure. Thanks, Tim, for having me.